I'm a little fucked up, but will you take care of me forever and ever?
Anthony Joshua has that kind of speed. That is the kind of
With
thing.
252
like,
pounds.
if you don't have the skill to get away from that kind of power, what happens is Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua. You have to be a you can't judge that guy based on Dubois, who's a murderer. Daniel Dubois is a tank, and he took out Joshua, but that guy's terrifying. You're staring in front of that guy, but Usyk didn't stand in front of him. Usyk moved all over the place. Joshua's, and he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to be very angry.
The better man won. On to bigger, better things for AJ in 2026.
Where does Jake go from here? Should he fight cruiserweights, no heavyweights anymore?
Yeah, I think he'll be better at cruiserweight, but he made a good account of himself. He boxed well, but if that's your game plan, you've got to be able to do that for 8 rounds, not 3.
Hey, what's your reaction? It happened what it needed to happen. What it was supposed to happen happened tonight. JakePaul, credit to him. He survived for 4 rounds, but I mean, we kind of knew what was going to happen.
But where does Jake go from here? He showed a lot of heart.
I mean, he did show a lot of heart, but again, he didn't land many combinations. He ran for 4 rounds. He ran around the ring for 4 rounds. He got tired and he got knocked out. It's part of boxing. A lot of experience in the other side, obviously. And again, what needed to happen happened.
So where does he go from here? Does he take on?
JakePaul can still do a lot of things, but you know it's different when you fight MMA fighters than when you fight real fighters in the boxing ring.
Absolutely, he showed a lot of heart. Now, what about Anthony Joshua? They're talking about him and Tyson Fury going to a matchup. The fight is bigger now, right?
Man, I hope so. I hope it happens. It's a fight that a lot of people have been wanting for the longest, so I'm excited for 2026.
Talk to your fans of Puerto Rico. What's going to happen on January 31st?
Man, January 31st, Puerto Rico and the world is going to see the youngest unified world champion. So I'll see you guys soon.
You got it.
Jakey boy, man. JakePaul, man. What's my thought on the fight? What is Andre Dirrell's thought on the fight? Forget my thought on the fight. This is my thought for JakePaul or on JakePaul. Now, I was wrestling with what was going to happen in this fight, right? Because I knew Anthony Joshua could have took him out anytime he wanted to, right? I knew he didn't have nothing for Anthony Joshua. I knew it. There was no shot he could have landed, and he was looking for that overhand right like we all seemed to suspect it. Didn't work out. Slowly gassed him out. The more he fell, the more I knew it was getting tired and it was over for him eventually. I knew the round it was gonna end up ending, and it did, and it ended up happening.
Now that JakePaul and Anthony Joshua have finally shared the ring, the conversation shifts from hype to hindsight. Before a punch was thrown, experts had strong opinions on how this would unfold. Some predicted a quick ending, while others warned of unexpected moments. Looking back now, it's time to see how accurate those predictions really were. Once the final bell rang, the official results settled everything. Tom Aspinall focused heavily on size and boxing habits when analyzing the outcome. He believed Joshua's biggest edge was not just power, but his ability to control distance with straight punches. He felt Jake could avoid danger early by staying mobile. But once Joshua locked in his timing, the gap would become obvious fast. In his view, Jake lasting briefly did not mean he was competitive.
So we have to talk about the size of the boys. Anthony Joshua, huge human being, 6'6". Fighting JakePaul, he's quite big in his own right, 6'1", but the size difference is massive, especially like JakePaul's been fighting cruiserweight, fought below that as well. Anthony Joshua is a natural heavyweight, 245 pounds plus, 6'6". JakePaul obviously a lot shorter, but one of the advantages that we've seen for JakePaul in this fight, when Anthony Joshua fought Anthony Ruiz, he fought him twice. In the first fight particularly, Anthony Joshua was making himself a lot smaller than he actually is. In the second fight, he did improve on it a little bit more. He wasn't using that long, stiff jab and the long, stiff 1-2 that he's got. He was a lot of the time coming down to his kind of size. So, is he going to do that in this fight? I don't know. But if he does, that's where JakePaul will look to throw a few hooks over the top.
Aspinall also pointed out the only possible opening Jake might have had. He noted that Joshua sometimes chose to trade when it was unnecessary, which could invite risk. Still, he trusted Joshua's experience to recognize that danger quickly. Because of that, Aspinall leaned toward a controlled finish rather than chaos.
Joshua does let his ego take hold a little bit and get dragged into a scrap sometimes. That's what he did against Ruiz in the first fight. That's what he did against Dubois when he fought him a couple of fights ago. So sometimes you start seeing Anthony Joshua get hit with the punches, and he likes to trade a little bit too much, which is where Jake Paul could potentially have some success. That being said, as I said, boxing pedigree, Olympic champion, doesn't get much higher. Two-time world heavyweight champion, fought all the best guys barring Tyson Fury. He knows what it's like to be in there, under the pressure, against these big, massive guys who are big, massive punchers, and he knows how to ride the shots, he knows how to finish a fight. Once he gets guys hurt, Anthony Joshua is absolutely clinical. Big guy, super athletic, loads of power, and he should win pretty easily, but this is combat.
For his final call, Aspinall expected Jake to survive past the opening round, but only by avoiding damage. He predicted Joshua would take a round or two to close the distance before ending it decisively. In his mind, this was never about whether Joshua would win, only how long it would take.
I would say Jake Paul's going to be on his bike the first 2 or 3 rounds. It'll be hard for Anthony Joshua to get to him because he won't be doing a lot back. He'll just be jabbing and moving. And when a big, massive guy fights a smaller guy who's a little bit more nimble, it is hard to get to him. But I would say Joshua stoppage in the 3rd or 4th round.
So you are, Tom Aspinall is on record to say Jake Paul will make it out of the 1st round.
I think Jake Paul will make it out of the 1st round, yeah, I do. But I think he'll be...
The MMA guru focused closely on nerves and body language. He believed Jake's joking and loose behavior before the fight was not confidence, but stress leaking through. In his view, Jake knew what was coming and masked it with playfulness. Meanwhile, Joshua appeared relaxed because he understood the task ahead was straightforward.
But I kind of respect that it is in his last hours, in his final hours, this is how Jake Paul is acting. He's tiny compared to AJ. He's making like a joke out of it. I think he's trying to make a joke out of this because that's how nervous he is. I don't think he's just so brave and thinks he's gonna win that there's like this like confidence within him that you gotta respect the confidence of Jake Paul. I don't even think that's the situation here. I think he's just so nervous about what's gonna happen that this is his way of like disguising it with this kind of activity.
When breaking down how the fight would play out, he believed Jake might survive the 1st round by moving and staying light. That survival, to him, was the best-case scenario. Once Joshua settled in and began landing clean shots, he expected the fight to turn ugly very quickly.
Anyone can look pretty technical and fast on the pads if you're 150 pounds or something like that. He's a pretty big guy. And he's definitely improved, you know? This is the improvements that he made. On the top slide, you can see the improvements. God, I can't minimize this. Hang on a second. Oh, for fuck's sake. The top side has the improvements, and this is him side by side. Definite improvements have been made. There's a good chance that maybe, just maybe, he's going to be small and light enough to land a couple of decent shots and then take this to like round 3. But that's his best bet. His best bet is round 3. I'm watching this on a Fight Companion. I have to be there for this. I need to see it. If Jake Paul pulls this off and I'm not live to give my reaction, I'm not there watching, I'll never forgive myself. I'll never forgive myself if he somehow pulls this off. If he gets demolished and flatline KO'd, which I think will happen by round 2 or 3, it's gonna go everywhere.
He predicted Jake would be dropped hard and finished within the opening rounds, most likely in round 2 or 3. He felt the knockout would go viral and permanently shift how people viewed Jake Paul's boxing future.
You're gonna see live on Twitter, Jake Paul viciously knocked out in round 3. That's what I think is gonna happen. I think he's gonna do all right in round 1. AJ will kind of like ease into the fight a little bit, and then afterwards he'll be like, you know what, he's actually a lot faster than I thought he was going to be, you know. And he's going to have a bit of speech like that, and you know what, shout out to Jake Paul, he's doing his thing. And he's going to give a bit of a speech, and shout him out and say he was actually quite hard to track down at first, and I had to adjust and I had to kind of think he's going to give him props for like the good of boxing to try and keep Jake Paul afloat. Round 2, I think Jake's going to go down. And here's his only saving grace that I think might happen. I reckon he like fights back after a knockdown. That's what I think. I think he's going to get knocked down in round 2. Pretty bad. Get back up and like swing back when AJ's teeing off in the pocket. They make it to maybe the end of round 2. If he gets knocked out at the end of round 2, that's when it happens. And then round 3, AJ just puts him up.
Brian Davis from Pain Game believed Jake's primary objective was survival, not victory. He framed the fight around whether Jake could last without taking serious damage. Brian felt Jake might move early to stay safe, but he saw no real path for Jake to apply pressure or change momentum. Any offense from Jake, in his view, would be limited and mostly hopeful.
And look, everyone is just expecting Jake Paul to get annihilated in this fight, as he should. And what I want to kind of ask in today's video is, like, what can Jake Paul do? Can he survive for any meaningful length of time? Can he do anything offensively? And I think before I go into that, I just do have to give some fucking credit, like, because I slated Jake Paul when he went in there and beat up old man Mike Tyson. And I was frustrated at the lack of high quality opponents. And we all have to accept that this just takes massive balls. Yeah, he's getting paid a shitload for it. The kid's got enough money. We have to acknowledge the courage that he is showing here. And financially, I think this is a very smart move from Jake Paul if you ignore the brain.
As for the ending, Brian predicted outside intervention. He expected either the referee or Jake's corner to step in once things turned dangerous. To him, this was never about rounds or scorecards. It was about protecting Jake once Joshua began landing clean shots, which he believed would happen very early.
Here's my only thought about how this can end and Jake Paul not end up in serious fucking pain, if he even knows what the fuck day it is. The minute AJ gets him up against that rope and he starts uncorking those thunderous fucking shots, I think they're going to throw the towel in really, really quickly. Everyone will know, like, as in the referee will probably be ready to call it off early. The referees are supposed to, you know, let it go to a certain point, but they're going to be a lot quicker to step in for Jake Paul because they're aware that this is a mismatch. And if that doesn't happen, the fucking towels will be coming in super quick. And that is my opinion on how they get Jake Paul out of this situation with his fucking brain.
Fidel Riley and Leon Wills both viewed the fight as something driven by money rather than risk. Riley believed the fight only became dangerous if Joshua lost focus. He felt the real threat was not Jake's skill, but Joshua getting emotional. If Joshua tried to enjoy it too much or make a statement, that's when wild shots from Jake could sneak in. Discipline, in his eyes, was the difference between a clean win and unnecessary danger.
No, I don't think the only thing that makes this fight more difficult than it needs to be is AJ hitting him with the initial punch, him seeing Jake feel like, bro, and then decide to turn it into something.
So, yeah,
that's the only way danger occurs.
He needs to understand the mission.
If he bangs Jake in his nose, busts his nose, and he goes, yeah, I'm glad you know that bust your nose, and you're gonna get knocked out soon. Then we're all in for a treat.
Yeah.
But if he goes, rah, true say, man, I was not even. Let me just like.
Yeah, let me like, yeah.
You do that. That's when the overhands start coming out from this.
Both expected Joshua to rely on fundamentals rather than force the moment. They believed the right approach was steady pressure, a consistent jab, and clean power shots without rushing. Jake, they felt, would try to move, troll, and survive early. But once Joshua stayed patient and cut off the ring, the size and strength gap would take over. For them, this was about execution, not talent. They expected Jake to show courage, but still get stopped. A long or competitive fight was never on their cards. If Joshua failed to finish decisively, they believed it would raise serious questions. A strong stoppage was not just expected, it was necessary. Michael Bisping leaned strongly toward Joshua, ending things quickly. He felt Joshua taking his time made no sense given the risks. Bisping believed Joshua would look to shut it down early to avoid chaos or embarrassment. To him, this was about making a statement immediately. He also dismissed Jake Paul's confidence as performance rather than belief. Bisping felt Jake understood the level he was facing and leaned into promotion to stay relevant. In his final outlook, Bisping predicted a brutal ending, likely in the first round or an early stoppage. Anything else, in his view, would have been shocking. Tim Welch also expected a brutal night for Jake Paul. He believed Jake's best weapon was his overhand right, but Joshua had seen that punch countless times before. Welch expected Joshua to stay calm and eventually land something Jake could not handle. His focus was on damage, not just victory. He believed this fight carried real long-term risk for Jake. Joshua's weight and power, he felt, would be unlike anything Jake had experienced. That's why Welch thought the corner might need to step in. In the end, his view was clear. He never expected Jake to win, and felt that surviving alone would almost count as a victory. Anything more would have shocked him. These were the expert predictions before the fight. Now that everything is settled, what about you? Did your pick come out on top, or did the fight play out differently than you expected? Share your thoughts and tell us who you had winning in the comments below.